Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Rob Cohey. I'm Director of Product for Embed Extensibility at Adobe.
My name is Marche Coleman. I'm a product manager on Rob's team. We're super excited to talk about how Webflow customers are using generative AI powered by Adobe to create and edit images and visuals using on their websites. We're going to share about how Webflow customers are saving time, saving effort, and sparking greater creativity and collaboration within their teams.
So here we are, Adobe folks, talking to Webflow folks about the importance of websites. I'm told that websites are very important and they become the front door to your organization, and they're the thing that you use. I'm not going to lecture this audience about the importance of websites, but what I am going to say is that the design aspect of the website experience is becoming more and more critical, right? Well, the design side of things, design can be challenging. What if you lack certain technical skills? Have you ever seen that meme of the horse where half of it's drawn with what looks like a child and the other half is done? Like, okay, I'm on the left-hand side of that. Okay, I'm a mechanical engineer by training, so creativity isn't necessarily in my DNA, but I understand the importance of staying on brand. We understand the importance of IP concerns when it comes to AI and the use of AI. And we're going to talk about what we're doing at Adobe to overcome some of those concerns, right? We've got Q&A at the end. However, if anything comes up that is very topical and you want to ask a specific question about that, maybe we can do some shout outs or what have you, but we do have time for Q&A at the very end, so however you'd want to do it. But here's one of the things that we're doing with extensibility at Adobe. We're really allowing users to operate where teams already work. And that's what we're really excited about with this partnership and what we've done with Webflow. You're going to have access to Adobe technologies right within the application without ever having to use it. So we'll talk about Adobe Express. What is Adobe Express? Show of hands, who's using Adobe Express? Heard of Adobe Express? All right. Well, as you well know, Adobe, we've been in the creative space for a heck of a long time. Brands like Photoshop, Illustrator, Premiere, and others. Adobe Express is our opportunity to kind of rethink that experience. We've been told that the complexity sometimes of applications like Photoshop are intimidating. So Adobe Express is our opportunity to kind of rethink that, lower the overall knowledge required to be able to produce something beautiful, and have it be AI powered along the way, right? So Adobe Express is our all-in-one editor. We have everything from very atomic quick actions, one-click remove background, to an all-in-one editor that is very content first. How many people like inspiration, being able to sort through different templates of other designers that might have done things? Nobody likes a blank screen to start with, right? So with Adobe Express, we focus on three key workflows, right? We have the ability to edit either an image or video, but we also have the ability to generate both images and video. And we have hundreds of thousands of templates for you to start with if you choose not to generate even a template. So think of social media, multi-object, multi-layer type thing. We have the ability to generate that with AI as well. So a couple of the things you'll be able to do with Adobe Express, our text-to-image capabilities is, well, it's pretty awesome. I would recommend, if you haven't tried this yet, being able to describe the thing that you see in your mind's eye through a text prompt and have it generate something for you, especially if you have the artistic talent of a mechanical engineer, is something that is certainly mind-boggling. We also have access to be able to do things like text effects. You can describe the text font that you want and we'll generate the font. Pretty crazy, right? And of course, access to things like brand kits, your colors, your fonts, other library assets that you need, all through Adobe Express, all without ever having to learn an overly complicated system to be able to use. So let's talk a little bit about Firefly Gen AI and what makes Firefly unique. Firefly, and I want to emphasize this, is a commercially safe AI image generation tool that you can use and license, indemnify, all those fun things, so that you can use them for commercial purposes. We trained Firefly on Adobe stock, right? So that's what makes those images that it produces commercially available. So really, we want to take this technology, we want to empower your folks, we want to supercharge their creativity, we want to enable them to create things potentially more quickly than it would take you to maybe search through hundreds of thousands of stock images to find that perfect thing that you want, right? And of course, we want to protect, okay? So Firefly is meant to be safe for commercial use. And really, at Adobe, when it comes to Gen AI and the use of Gen AI, we set the standard for responsibility. We are a part of a number of technology organizations that are setting kind of organizational standards for things like respect for creators' rights. We kicked off the Content Authenticity Initiative, and this I'm reading now because this is a wordy thing. And then finally, we're part of the Coalition for Content, Provenance, and Authenticity. So yes, are we leading the way in some of this technology? Absolutely. Are we also leading the way, we believe, in the ethical use of generative AI? That's critical. Now, Adobe Express is also our opportunity to kind of rethink how we build software, right? It is the aggregate of all of the best of our technologies and our brands in one application. Each of those applications and each of those capabilities are designed in a way that we can isolate them. And being able to isolate them means that we can embed them so that when we put Adobe technologies in host applications, it's more relevant to that host application. It's a very focused experience so that users can get in and out very quickly, whether it's doing something as simple as removing a background, generating an image, editing an image, or going to a full in-depth kind of creative process to create that multi-layer, multi-object content that you need for your website. You can do all of that now right inside of Webflow. And I'm going to hand it over to Marche to talk about what Marche and the team have built with the Webflow team.
Thanks, Rob. So we're really excited to announce our integration with Webflow. Webflow has been a really great partner to work with. I tend to be pretty aspirational and lofty with the ideas that I throw at my engineers, and I let them tell me no. But when it came to Webflow, it was, oh, we can totally do that. It'll be super easy. Their platform is actually kind of built like Adobe Express. So there was really no better partner for us to have synergy with and be able to expand Webflow's capabilities by introducing Adobe Express. Once you've installed the Adobe Express app from Webflow's marketplace, there are 4 primary workflows that we highlight within the app. I saw the show of hands. Not many of you are too familiar with Adobe Express, so we've made it really easy for you to learn a new tool. One of the first key workflows that we focus on is giving users access to Adobe Express content. So even when you're starting from a blank canvas, which can be daunting, like Rob mentioned, you have an endless amount of inspiration from Adobe stock assets, Adobe templates, media collections. You also have access to our expanding features and capabilities. If, for example, we just launched being able to create charts and graphs. So you'll continue to see those new features roll out alongside our app for Webflow. The second is the ability to remove a background. I know that I'm guilty of having to go to a new tab, transparent image, PNG version, but Adobe Express has made it really quick and easy, truly just one click to remove the background from your image. Once your background is removed, you might want to add the background though. This next feature is probably one of my favorite and most used from Adobe Express, and that's generative fill. You can easily add or replace objects. So anytime my family comes to visit me in New York, we hit all the tourist spots, I pop it into Express, I just brush over all the tourists, and I pop them out with just one click. So generative fill has taken your pictures to a whole new kind of feature and capabilities that you can access with it, reimagine and transform your projects. This is really great for product listings if you have a product and you want to show it in a different environment or kind of in a different context. And then this last one has really been our bread and butter, and that's the ability to generate an image using a text prompt. You can also reference other images or refine the style options with a few recommended prompts, making it even easier and faster to get to what you're creating. We are really just getting started with our Firefly and generative AI capabilities. Last week, we announced Adobe's Generate Video, so we'll see that in Express coming soon, and we're really excited to continue bringing these features to Webflow. Only been in market for a couple of weeks, and Webflow customers are already seeing value from the integration. I have 2 stories to share with you all, and I believe that you might have heard of some of these folks in the audience as well. So our first one is IMB Bank. I was at MasterCard for a few years before this. I know how difficult the kind of finance and the payments industry is. I never want to look at my app. I can imagine how hard marketing teams work to build content that consumers actually want to consume. IMB Bank has been supporting people in Australia since 1880. As they started exploring new generative AI capabilities, we were really excited that they trusted Adobe Express for the job. With our integration for Webflow, IMB Bank was able to accelerate the process of creating visual assets for their new banking refresh. You can see some of the assets and how beautiful they look. So huge shout out to IMB Bank and the content that they created here. Using artwork as the original source, they developed a suite of assets. And again, they vastly accelerated their time to market for getting these pages live. Dan Locke, the head of digital, notes how much Adobe Express means that his team is able to achieve so much more. They're working more quickly, they're staying within their brand guidelines, and again, they're giving team members ways to spark and continue greater creativity with the endless amount of features that are available in Adobe Express. This next example that we have is Oyster. They are a leading global HR company managing freelancers and employees all around the world. They were looking for ways to speed up their website development process and found that generative AI could help with conceptualizing new landing pages. I know that all the designers in here, you guys hate having to tell people, it's just a mock-up when people are nitpicking at the different things that you see on your page. So for them to be able to create concepts that were used in the design review process and then serving as the basis for the final website content really expedited their workflow. Sudiksha, the lead website marketing manager for Oyster, says, the Adobe Express app for Webflow has sped up our design process by providing relevant placeholder images on landing pages that expedite stakeholder approvals during concept reviews. So again, no more, it's just a mock-up, it's just a mock-up. Get there faster with Adobe Express. If you're not sold yet, we have a really great offer to offer all of you guys at the Webflow conference today and give you 3 months free for Adobe Express Premium. While there's a ton of value that you can get as a free user, Premium unlocks more than 25,000 licensed Adobe fonts, even more access to generative AI features and capabilities, and millions of Adobe stock content and assets. I'll wait till I get off the screen, but be ready to pull out your phones, take a picture, scan the QR code to download the app. Once you download our Adobe Express app for Webflow, you'll get an email with the offer to redeem as well. We can't wait to see what you create. I'll bring Rob back up for this part.
Yeah.
But we are happy to take some questions and answers.
So the part of the interactive side of this presentation can kick off now. I know, like I said, I know what we're between. We're between you guys and happy hour, but glad to field any questions about Adobe Express. Glad to field any questions about what we're doing with the integration, where other places it might go. Would like to hear you. Any thoughts on if you've already tried it and what the feedback is in the room, other than what we already heard from Marche? Question in the room. Great.
Thank you. So we know that I appreciate you really calling out the safety of using your tool for commercial reasons. We know that there's a lot of AI models that are using licenses of artists without compensating them. How exactly could you go into, is your content licensed and what's that process looking like? Are people compensated? Can you just go deeper into that, please?
Yeah, so the compensation model is based on a similar compensation model that we have for Adobe Stock and how we compensate those creators. So we train off of Adobe Stock, and therefore, whenever an image is generated, we know who that end user is. We require the end user to be logged in with their Adobe ID, right? And in doing so, the image generated is unique to then that end user. It is then available to be used for license purposes, and in some cases, it can also be indemnified.
We're not mining the internet to train our models. We're compensating our stock contributors.
Yeah, very important distinction. Thank you, Marcia. Other questions?
Other questions?
Up here in the front.
Just curious, is this outside of Creative Cloud? If you're already a subscriber, is it included, or is this something that is a separate add-on?
Yep, so Creative Cloud members do have access to Adobe Express Premium. Adobe Express is also free, so if you're not a user, you can't take advantage of it. The Premium membership also just gives you access to even greater features and capabilities.
Thank you.
And there's a low barrier to try it. The free use, we don't necessarily restrict access to certain features. What we do is we meter the use of those features. So for example, even free users can log in and try the text to image generation. And that user right now gets 25 generative credits per user per month. Really, the biggest distinction is access to content. You have tens of thousands of templates to start with as a free user. You have hundreds of thousands of templates to start with as a premium user. You get 25 generative credits per month with free. You get 250 generative credits per month for paid. So, and then there's also there's Teams, accounts, and then all the way up to enterprise accounts.
Another great feature of Adobe Express for our existing Creative Cloud users is you can upload your Photoshop and Illustrator documents directly into Adobe Express. It'll maintain the layers and you're able to make kind of quick actions without having to learn those pro tools. So it makes collaboration between the people who actually use Photoshop and Illustrator really easy for those who just need to make those quick edits.
Over here.
Making you run. So I'm wondering about whether Adobe has plans, or Adobe and Webflow, to permit web page layout generation. I mean, I've seen today, Webflow has the assistant that can sort of generate some sections based off of once you've already defined styles on a site, and Reloom has tools for creating wireframes, and this here, what we're seeing is creating images. But there's this key thing in the center, which is developing the styles in the first place, running through options, and sort of a tool to create layouts. I'm wondering if that's either part of this or on the roadmap.
I don't necessarily know that that's going to be a sweet spot to distinguish the difference between, and I don't know if this is your question or not, but like distinguish the difference between why use Webflow for certain elements and why use Adobe Express for certain elements of design. Did I get that right?
From a brief. So to say, we've got a creative brief, we've got content wireframes, and now what we want to do is generate look and feel options and style options throughout the entire page or design system.
Yeah.
There are things out there right now that are able to create one-off landing pages, for instance, off of a text prompt.
Gotcha.
But it seems that a more integrated solution in this environment would be needed.
That was an excellent plug. We have a number of partners, Webflow being one of them, and certainly the technology that we use to embed or to create the plugin is the same technology we use to embed Adobe Express in other partners. We just announced yesterday a partnership with Box, for example. Cloud data storage versus website management, obviously, but there's a desire to have this technology, and we want to make sure that it's where our customers are working. So what you bring up is an excellent opportunity for me to talk to the Webflow product team about further integrating some of our capabilities to the rest of the ecosystem, and really just kind of use the best of both worlds and find that perfect product market fit. And the more we hear from customers about a desire for a deeper relationship, we would look forward to having those discussions. Sir.
Yeah, I just want to understand the difference between Firefly and Express, or are those two different tools? I know Firefly is in beta right now, so is Express going to be Firefly, or are they just separate tools that you guys are?
It's a great question. So fundamentally, what's the difference between how we're branding Firefly and how we're branding Express? Firefly is kind of our skunk works, right? This is where we're trying things in generative AI that may or may not become commercially productized. We're taking that technology and putting it in Express and productizing it there, right? So it really allows us that flexibility to kind of really push the envelope and see what's possible in Gen AI without being restricted to, well, this needs to be applicable to, the target audience of how we're productizing Adobe Express. So kind of an oversimplification of how we're managing the two brands. I don't know, Marcia, if you have any thoughts there.
Yeah, I'd say as an Express product manager, I look for the Firefly team as more of like a generative AI playground. And so as they have certain features that are, a relatable or a relevant to Adobe Express workflows, we embed those specific generative AI capabilities. Adobe Firefly powers generative capabilities across Photoshop, Premiere Pro. So it really is kind of its separate standalone appers and services, just embedded within Adobe Express to give us that generative AI, those generative AI capabilities.
Another follow-up question. So I know that's in beta. So is that going to be eventually kind of like fizzled out and phase into other applications like Photoshop and Illustrator, or is it going to be an application that stands on its own eventually?
It'll continue to be its own kind of, I consider it a bit of a playground. It is available today to enterprises, and the services are, so it's out of beta, but we have certain features that are rolling in across the Creative Cloud products, including Adobe Express.
Cool, thanks.
Non-creative person here. Can you explain to me how the whole licensing thing works? So there's a load of stock images, use generative AI, you get an output image. Is that mine now? Do I own that image, or do I have to pay you for that image? If I'm in the free model, is it mine? How does that all work in terms of license being passed to the...
You acquired the commercial use of that image by your consumption of a free generative credit that we issued you as part of your Adobe ID, right? So when you use Adobe Express, you'll log in with an Adobe ID. We'll check to see what your entitlement is based upon however you've subscribed to us. If you're a free user, you are then entitled 25 generative credits. If you generate an image and say as soon as you hit generate, you will have consumed a generative credit.
Yep.
In the Webflow integration, we will give you 4 previews of the image generated. You select the one that you want, and you would then save it back to Webflow. That will consume that generative credit. That image is now associated to your Adobe ID for commercial use.
Okay. Do I own the image?
You own the image.
Okay, so if somebody else wanted to use my image, I could sell it to them.
That I don't know how a license transfer would work.
Okay.
I don't know the answer to
I'm not too
that.
sure how license credentials work. I know that we do keep the content credentials, so as the work is being passed to others, you can always see the source of how it was created.
Okay.
Let me get your card, and I'll circle back with you on that.
Okay, thanks.
Just to add to the last question, so sometimes we need to show proof of license if we're working with another company. Is there a way to show that proof of license for a generative AI picture to show a third party that we're working with?
Yeah, it's called the Content Authority Initiative. This is CAI-enabled content. There's extra metadata associated to that image that would have been uniquely that digital signature of that image, and that it's been licensed for use.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions? Great. Well, we're really excited about it. If you need help getting access to the app, find us at the happy hour, find us after this. But really happy to share this integration with you all, and we're really excited to see what you create. Thanks again.